This is the Google Pixel 7, and this phone, heck, even the whole Pixel lineup, could be the greatest value smartphones ever. Let's talk about it. So I've actually been using this Pixel 7 as my main phone for the last 2 months. In this long-term ownership review, I'm going to go over the good and the bad of owning a Pixel, specifically after switching over from an iPhone. If you want to know my thoughts on Android versus iOS, check out this video right here from when I first switched from my iPhone. Alright, let's start off with the most important part of this phone, the camera. The camera system on this smartphone is fantastic. I would go as far to say that this is the best camera on almost any smartphone, especially in this price category. The main camera is a 50 megapixel wide camera. You have a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, and then on the front, you have the 10 megapixel selfie camera. Now, something you'll hear me say a lot in this review is that Google doesn't have good hardware, but they make up for that bad hardware with good software. So these camera specs don't absolutely blow you out of the water, but the way that they process the photos does. Every time I snap a photo with my Pixel, I can be sure that it'll turn out a good image. There's excellent low light quality, which Google is calling night sight, as well as a super awesome feature called True Tone, which means no matter who you're shooting a photo of, their skin tone will be accurate. Like most Android phones, the video quality isn't quite as good as the photo quality, but you can still get by. And that brings up the next amazing thing on this phone, the battery life. This phone has a 4,355 milliamp hour battery, which, if you're not familiar, is pretty decent. This paired with the G2 chip, a chip Google specifically designed for this phone, and you get an excellent battery performance. I did experience a few problems, however, when I was gaming or watching media. I like to watch The Walking Dead at 1.25 speed, and it'll absolutely chug through your battery. Not to mention that the phone was nearly burning in my hands.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
The phone's battery is good for 95% of people, but for those of you who are gaming or watching media a lot, I wouldn't suggest this phone. And that brings me to my next point. Hardware. Like I said, the hardware isn't very good, but they solve hardware problems with software solutions. The G2 chip I mentioned earlier is excellent for battery life in day-to-day use, responding to emails, calling, texting, stuff like that. It even does really well with multitasking and switching between windows, but the second you put heavy workloads on it, like watching high-resolution media or playing a heavy mobile game, you begin to see its fall. This is Google's second smartphone chip, and it was designed for battery efficiency at low-end workloads. If you plan on playing a lot of games and then want to use the phone for the rest of the day, I wouldn't buy this phone. Anyway, the screen is pretty great. A 1080p 90Hz AMOLED, and it probably is the most accurate colors I've ever seen on a smartphone. The fingerprint scanner on it is in just the right spot, and it's fairly snappy. I very rarely have problems with it, and when it doesn't work, I can just use Face ID. The screen also gets pretty bright, and I've never had problems with not being able to see it outside. I'll put up all the other internal specs up here on the screen, but the Pixel 7 pretty much matches up with all of the other phones in this price category. But all of this isn't nearly as cool as the best part of this phone, the software. Like I said, this is possibly the greatest software in a smartphone ever. Every single aspect of Android is optimized for this phone, and it should be. Google is the one who makes Android. You're getting the best version of it in this phone. There's so many cool things that this phone can do that I just can't mention them all, so here are a couple of my favorites. Magic Eraser. You can use the processing power of the camera to erase certain parts of an image. It works pretty well, but don't try to go too far and erase the subject of an image or anything. Another thing that it can do is camouflage, which is pretty similar to Magic Eraser, but instead of erasing whatever you circle, just turns less saturated, making it less in the focus of the photo. Extreme battery saver for the occasional circumstance when you're low on battery but can't find the charger. It disables all the background apps so you can only use the ones that you really need. Google Lens. This allows you to click on any object in a picture and search it up. It tells you with amazing accuracy what the object is and how you can buy it. These are the kind of all-powerful features I like to see in my phone. And finally, my favorite part of this phone is the widgets. I know iPhone just fixed this, but honestly it's a little too late for me. All the widgets are interactable. That means that you can interact with the most important part of your apps without being sucked in. Okay, all of this in a phone is pretty incredible. Sure, it is lacking specifically in the processor department. But with all these amazing software features you can't find anywhere else making up for it, this might just be the greatest phone of all time. And I didn't even mention that this phone is $499. That's incredible. The only better value phone I can think of is the Pixel 7a, the budget version of this phone. I didn't even touch on how good this phone looks or the benefits of Android over iPhone. So overall, the greatest phone I've ever owned. Probably gonna hold on to it for a while. Of course, the Google Pixel 8 comes out soon, and I'm probably going to want that. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribing would go a long way. I'm hoping to become the most subscribed to Owen Cook on the platform. Hopefully this review helped you make some decisions in life, or just helped you learn something. As always, there's links down below for any videos that I found interesting on the subject. While you're down there, click the like button, maybe leave a comment. Anyway, that's all. Have a great day. Party on, dudes.